Hey, welcome everybody to our first episode of the Esports Connection, where the esports industry goes to connect. Streaming to you live from the center of the esports universe here at the University of California, Irvine's Beale Applied Innovation Center. And with our host, the host with the most, the man who's going to show us this strange new world that I know nothing about, but so many people like him do. Harrison Griffith. Welcome, sir.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's great to be here.
I like the fact you got an orange sweater on against the orange background. This is Orange County Talk Radio, so
that's right.
Appreciate the brand. All right, give us a quick 30 seconds. Who's Harrison Griffith, and why are you doing this show?
Well, I am a Cal State graduate and current UCI student. Like you said before, we are streaming from the UCI, UC Irvine. It is the esports capital of the world.
It really is. In fact, I read this stat. I'll stop you for 1 second. Mm-hmm. In 2016, if I got this correct, there was only one college in America that had an esports program, not after hour clubs, not the student clubs, but an actual program, esports program, and that was UC Irvine.
You know, Paul, I actually just recently learned that was true. Yeah.
So I'm not making it up.
No, you're not making it up. That's real. No, and now every college has one.
Yeah, it's grown. It's really crazy. So anyway, all right, you from that background, you always had a passion, I guess, for esports, right? When did you start playing?
Probably in high school. A lot of young men like to use video games as an outlet for their time. So
right.
I was one of them. I got into the more competitive side. Appealed to me. You know, I always liked to compete in sports. I was a tennis player.
You were a good tennis player in high school.
I was a pretty good tennis player. My last year, I was the number 2 in varsity.
There you go. So you moved from what I think of as a real sport, tennis, to what I still think of as not a real sport, but it really is now, esports.
Esports. Well, you know, people usually discount it since there's not much of a physical element to it. But I don't think that the physical element is what's really interesting about sports. I think it's the mental elements and the knowledge that players have that makes the interactions of sports interesting.
It's not just the fact that you can shoot that ball a certain way and put it through the hoop. It's the one of our show hosts, his son is a professional baseball player, and he said that's the part that most fans don't really understand. The mental, the choices he's making, and the strategies.
If soccer were simply a game of who has the buffest legs,
who can kick the farthest,
who can kick the ball the farthest, that'd be a pretty boring sport, right? I feel like I'm not a soccer fan, but I feel like the reason why people like Messi in particular is because he's very talented and he shows what he can do with his legs.
The choices he makes and the strategy. The famous Wayne Gretzky quote, "I don't shoot the puck where they're going. I don't skate to where the," what did he say? I skate to where the puck is going. Mm-hmm. I got to envision where it's going, and then I got to be there when it arrives.
Yeah, no, and all these elements are present in esports. It's just the physical element that's gone.
Well, there is a physical element more and more. We'll talk about that through the time. I mean, I guess you can move this mouse, this controller, this device different than others. In some of the games more so. We were talking about your chosen game, which is Smash Brothers, right?
Yeah, no, that's correct. It's a very technically demanding game, I would say. More
than just point and click and shoot.
Yeah, no, I mean some games like StarCraft, for instance, require sometimes up to 10 inputs per second from a player.
Oh my goodness!
So that's a map. People are playing with a mouse and keyboard, and they have to do that many inputs. I've even seen StarCraft players put their feet up on a table like so, and use their foot to their big toe order to play, but completely seriously. So they're in competitive mode and they're playing like this. They're
using every digit they got to do something here.
Precisely. You don't mess with StarCraft play. I mean, so obviously there's some physical execution required.
Yeah. You're coming off the camera there. Let's get you to lean up a little.
I gotta come in closer.
There you go. Yeah, right, move the mic a little bit there.
I don't know where I am in relation to the camera. So.
That's all right. You understand the metaverse,
Here,
but not
where are we broadcasting to? I can look at myself live.
You don't have to. Just keep talking. We're captured. We're flying the wall watching this conversation here.
Flying the wall? Okay.
And the fly's over there right on the wall. All right. Well, only reason I bring that up is because I think you've got some unique insights. You're in this world, And we thought it was great that you were willing to come in and teach us about this and host this, because we're mostly a business channel that talks about various things. And certainly the business of esports has boomed. I mean, this is a sport that I still trying to wrap my head around in my 60s here. I'm not sure I get it, understand where it's going, but it's big. It's big not just in terms of games that are being sold, but in terms of tournaments and prize money that's being created. And the programs built to teach this at the community college level, high school level, and the college level. Talk about that for a second. I mean, you were at an esports program team at not a program, but a team at Cal State Long Beach, right?
Well, it definitely depends on the schools and if they're willing to support the esports communities. UCI has shown that they are more than willing to support esports as an endeavor for their students.
They're even giving scholarships out. You can win a scholarship.
There's esports certification programs, one of which I'm in currently. There's an entire esports facility at UCI. So it really,
an arena.
Not every school. Some school might do some of those things, but I feel like most schools just have like a Smash club or like an esports club.
Right.
And so you can use the student facilities like any other student could, but you probably are going to have to provide your own monitors, provide your own game setups, all of these things, provide your own stream setups.
Right.
These things are generally not provided by school. So it definitely just depends on the level of involvement of the
well, we're going to have a
itself.
couple of great examples come up in our first couple episodes here. We've got the young man who is runs the esports program for Irvine Valley Community College, a community college here. And then following that, we're going to have Mark Deppy, who the pioneer that put together the UC Irvine esports team and all that they do here. I mean, it's a real professional team. It's a real team that goes out and competes against other schools, and they've got trainers, they've got everything you'd see in a sports program. They've got coaches, they've got trainers, they got a facility. They treat it exactly as if this was the baseball team or the football team for UCI. And I sometimes wonder if that isn't the appeal for colleges like UCI, because we don't have a football team here. We don't have that kind of facility. So maybe this takes the place of that. Maybe this is an easier program to implement. We'll ask them that. And certainly it's passionate. Your generation, you're the same generation as my son or my grandson, same generation as my son-in-law. Mm-hmm. And he, like you, is a passionate esports enthusiast. Doesn't play seriously, but always dreamed of maybe doing so, playing in tournaments. But he got a real job. He's married and got a family now, and married my daughter and has a couple grandkids. So those professional dreams he probably put aside, but he's still passionate about it. He plays nearly every day, finds some time to play. I think he plays Call of Duty. And my point is, I asked him once, I said, how can people watch? I get that you play it, but how could people watch this? How could I get excited watching somebody, to me, move a mouse? And his answer was, you watch LeBron James do something amazing with a basketball that you can't do. It's the same thing here. They're doing something you can't do. Do you agree with that?
Well, yeah. I mean, in the same way that you can watch a poker player.
Or poker, yeah.
Yeah, you can play. You obviously have the technical capability of playing poker, but nobody would want to watch you, Paul Roberts, play poker.
You've seen me play. No.
Right, no.
Wouldn't be too interesting. Because I don't know what I'm doing. There isn't enough strategy.
It's the skill and knowledge, and the fact that tournaments and esports are a way to narrow down and kind of trim the fat of the kind of less skilled players who are not as interesting to watch. See, most people just want to watch the top level play, regardless of how good they are themselves in the game.
And where are they watching? This platform called Twitch that I know very little about, but I'm trying to learn more about. That seems to be where most of them hang out, although some of them are now gravitating over to YouTube, I guess, as well. And that's where you can watch some of these top players in the world play for hours. And in some cases, like in Twitch, you can play against them if they let you, right?
It depends on the Smash game for sure, but
so not just them playing against the game, but playing against other players, and maybe even you can line up.
So that's the entire appeal of fighting games. People are basically always playing against other people if you're playing in the fighting game genre,
as opposed to just playing together. When I was, the only video games I knew was,
where you're trying to get a high score. Things
Exactly.
have changed quite a bit, I would say.
Right. Okay, well, all that stuff we're going to explore, and starting up with our first, we're taking a road trip, a couple of weeks here. We're going to go to this Level Up Expo. It's a 3-day event for competitors, collectors, and fans all together. It's a smash up of all those things. They have tournaments and competitions going on, including for Super Smash, that you can participate in
right.
or watch in the arena. And then, of course, they've got an exhibition hall where you can go and see people selling all the cool stuff and that goes with it. What is it? What kind of stuff do collectors? I mean, people who need this. You gotta have headsets. You gotta have the right chairs. You have to have other sorts of. Enlighten me. What other sorts of things do you buy if you're into this sport? I know what kind of equipment to get if I'm into baseball. I got to get a glove, a bat, ball, other sorts of things. What do you have to get if you're in esports?
Well, you do need a controller, and you probably need whatever console the game is going to be on in order to practice yourself. So you do want to have some form of practice yourself, so you can practice in your downtime. These are if you're going to be a serious esports player. Obviously, if you're a PC gamer, you're going to have to buy. I guess you're going to have to buy a pretty decent PC to play your game on.
Right. And that alone
yeah,
is a
so
choice.
there
Am I
there
going to
are
play it on my
requirements,
PC? Am
yeah.
I going to play it on my phone? Am I going to play it? Where am I going to play it?
Yeah, a lot of those decisions are made by the developer, so we don't have to think about them too much. But usually there's an optimal way to play games, or there's one platform where the player base will gravitate towards.
So when you go to this Level Up Expo, what are you expecting to see there?
What am I expecting? I'm expecting to see something like Comic-Con,
Yeah,
but
right.
with a lot more of a heavy focus on video game competition, and probably some indie game developers are probably going to be demoing their games.
Mhm.
A lot of people are going to be promoting themselves, stuff like that. That's mostly what I'm going to be expecting.
And of
Probably
course,
some cosplay too.
And of course, well, we'll talk about cosplay in a moment, but of course, there are, like at Comic Con, there are going to be panels and
Yep.
people speaking about different aspects of game development, game playing, game characters, all the stuff here. I'm just flicking through the list here. You can go to Level Up Expo, LVL. It's got to be different, of course, because you're in the world of esports. LVLUP, Level Up Expo. And I see people here who are actors in all these games, and they list the credits. Zach Aguilar was an actor in Demon Slayer and Fire Emblem. All these other, Abby Trott, she was an actor in Demon Slayer and some of the games here. I never
Yep.
think about the people who voice and act out these characters.
Yeah, no, there's going to be a lot of talent there. So I'm expecting a lot of panels, like a lot of specialized panels for like, oh, hey, maybe there's going to be the cast of a TV show here or there,
Yeah, just as at Comic-Con, you see the cast of the new whatever Avengers movies or comic book movies and stuff here. You're going to see the same thing. The people who behind the scenes here, voice actors, special guests, commentators. There are people coming who are known as esports commentators. Phil, I think it's Visu, and TK Breezy, and a couple other people who make their living. Vicky Kitty. I don't know if these are any people that ring a bell with you, but
no,
these
those are also in the Smash Bros community. Those commentators are pretty well known.
So I've got people who are commenting on it. I've got people who are creating the games. I got people who are selling the paraphernalia and the accessories and the gear and all the other stuff. And then this crazy thing called cosplay, just like at Comic-Con. People dress up as these characters. Talk about that. Have you ever been to one of these cosplay things, cosplay, where they all dress up in costume as characters from one of these games?
Well,
Do you dress up as characters from one of these? Have you ever gone? Would
never,
you do that?
but I have been to Long Beach Comic Con, and that is there is some cosplay there.
Oh,
People
I
dress
went
up
to
as
the
comic book
Riverside
characters mostly.
Comic Con Revolution. They were in our station
Uh-huh.
here. I haven't been to the big one down in San Diego, and there were a ton of people that came dressed as the characters, and in quite elaborate costumes from all their favorite comic books or movies and stuff here. I guess that's just a whole nother world. So there will be some of that going on here. Events, this, as they say, cosplay events. Let me look here quick. Cosplay contests they're going to have, prizes and all this stuff. So all that's there, and then of course the tournaments. Now this tournament, I thought I read there was you and I were talking offline. Maybe we shouldn't go into this, but there's a lot of controversy in your particular game, Smash Brothers, and a couple of these players have been calling each other out and smash mouthing each other here, bad mouthing each other, and
Smash
to the point.
Mouth is a '90s band.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to relate it to something I can understand, and to the point where they like almost fighting and and feuding. And this one guy was banned for some of the nasty stuff he created. I think was he go by Hacks or something? That's his name.
Yep. Yeah, Hacks Money.
And I happened to be on Twitch in preparation for this, trying to watch some of these people play Smash Brothers. And I believe he's back on Twitch. I think he was off for a while. And he claims he's going to be at the Level Up Expo in this tournament. So, I mean, that's the kind. This is like one of the top 10 players in the world. Although I don't know if he still holds that rank because he got delisted.
Yeah, no, not being able to attend tournaments will hurt your rank for sure.
But you've got League of Legends, you've got Overwatch, Minecraft, Rocket League, all those things here. There are going to be places to play any or all those things, including your game. What's the difference between Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, Super Smash Brothers Melee?
Sorry, what was that? The
two different games, two different tournaments you can enter. Super Smash Brothers Melee or Ultimate. What's the difference? Is one just sort of
well, so Super Smash Brothers Melee was an older version of the game. So you know how they can release a game like Call of Duty, but then they'll update it, years later, and they'll add more stuff. But Smash Brothers is different. People like to play specific versions of the games, and some versions of the game are better for competitive play than others. Super Smash Brothers Melee happens to be pretty well adjusted for competitive play, so that's why people still play it over 20 years after its release. But
and it's customizable because you can pick your player.
Yeah,
I don't pick a player in Call of Duty. I'm just the guy shooting the other guys.
I mean, I don't know if we could be quoted on that. We don't know a whole lot about Call of Duty.
Yeah, but I'm sure I'm over exaggerating it, but I'm not assuming. I don't think in some of these other shooting games the same different types of personas. I'm trying to compete and go through the levels and act out the adventure, but I'm not as individual as you can be in the Smash Brothers. You guys are passionate. What player do you pick? There's like 80 players or something you can pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
And which one do you favor?
Oh, I favor Simon the Vampire Killer.
And I was watching this guy Hacks. Apparently, is one of the greatest in the world with the Fox character.
So in Super Smash Bros. Melee, there's a lot less characters. There's only 28 in Super Smash Bros. Melee, as opposed to over 80 in Smash Ultimate. That's because over the years they added more and more characters, and some characters were in some games, and then they weren't in later games. But the entire kind of shtick of Ultimate was that it was a conglomeration of all the characters across all the Smash games. So,
and of course, that means each of these characters has different powers and different abilities and different moves, right?
Yeah.
And you got to learn to master those, and then you go up against somebody else who's a different character with different moves and stuff, and see how they compete, how they handle it. Well, all this is a world I've never seen before. It's a rabbit hole that we've jumped down here, and it's a big one, and it goes down in lots of different directions. It encompasses different games. It encompasses different platforms. Do you play on PlayStation? Do you play on Xbox? Do you play on a laptop? And it certainly has endless permutations to it here as it goes off in different directions. The kinds of games they play, the type of platforms they play on, and where they're playing. Not just at tournaments and a professional level, but at colleges and high schools and after-school programs and all sorts of stuff. Kids are taking to this in a way. It isn't just when I stumbled on it a million years ago, it was just me playing against a game. It was a giant game of solitaire. It was just me playing against them to see how high I could go up, how many ranks I could go through. And maybe I compared my score like in a pinball, but it was one-on-one. Now it's you against many, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, there's definitely different appeals to the different play styles, and there's definitely different fighting games that are for different personalities. Absolutely, I would say that Smash Brothers as a platform fighter probably appeals to people who played Nintendo games more when they were younger. So things like Mario. Games
right.
where the point is that you're jumping around and moving your character. Whereas if you play Street Fighter, you probably had a system where you played with your sibling or you played in the arcades or something. You
Right.
know,
That's what I
generally
did
has.
in the
I feel like
arcades.
they have different appeal despite being very similar games. So
Well, all that and more we're going to explore on the Esports Connection as we connect you to this wide world of sports, esports, this ever-growing industry, this world that many of us have never seen before, but more and more of us are being pulled in, whether it's as players or parents watching the kids play or me watching my grandson play. And all of it's intriguing to me here. So we're going to start with this road trip to Level Up Expo, February 17th through the 19th in Las Vegas at the convention center. A big deal. It's going to take over the whole Las Vegas convention, or a big part of the Las Vegas convention center there, and with tournaments, with an exhibition hall, with crazy cosplay, costume contests, and panels and more. I look forward to going with you and learning more about this as we start this journey that we're calling Esports Connection, right here in Orange County's only community radio station,
that's right.
OC Talk Radio. Streaming live from our studios here at the University of California Irvine's Beale Applied Innovation Center.